Hello and welcome to what's new in Infor OS Platform in the April 2025 release. My name is Riina Silverberg and I will be your host for this session. Before we dive in, please note this session is not intended to be comprehensive release training. Complete training materials are available on Info.u. Our focus today is on providing insights to admins, developers, and super users who are using our solutions every day. We're here to highlight the main new features and how they can assist you. You can find comprehensive lists of the new features, functionalities, and enhancements in the Release Center on Concierge, located on the lower left side of the screen. A quick reminder, any future-looking statements regarding timelines or capabilities by our product managers are subject to change. In addition to our release updates, we are thrilled to introduce a fantastic lineup of Builder Hour sessions and webinars coming your way in the upcoming months. What you see here are the currently planned sessions. Make sure to check our announcements for more information and exact dates. You don't want to miss out on these opportunities to learn more about our solutions. If you have any suggestions for future topics, you can leave them in the Q&A chat window. I want to highlight our developer portal, where you can find also information about our solutions. There's, for example, tutorials and best practices. Please take a moment to bookmark this resource. Our new community is part of the developer portal. It is open for anyone to view, but to be able to ask questions and to comment, you need to register. We have a popular and well-liked monthly developer newsletter. You can use the link on the bottom of the screen to go to developer portal, where you will find the sign-up sheet to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm also excited to announce that we will be doing another hackathon this year. The official launch is a little later, so I can't go into details, but keep an eye out on our LinkedIn page for the promos and announcements. The session will be recorded. You can find the recording in the same link as the webinar. The recording will also be made available on our YouTube channel in about a week. You can find a host of other valuable videos on the channel as well. Our product managers are available to answer your questions throughout the session. Leave your questions in the Q&A chat. We have a packed agenda today, as always, and the timings here are approximate from this moment onward. For example, if you are only interested in EPM, you can go grab a coffee and be back in about 56 minutes. We are testing out a new way to leave feedback and will be displaying a QR code and providing a link to a feedback form throughout the session. We'd love to hear your thoughts. The first questions are up now, and there will be a new question after each product presentation. You will also get the traditional feedback option at the end of the webinar. Last thing before we start with the presentations is the licensing model. A recurring question we get is if this is part of the license or do I need to pay for it? On the left side, you see what solutions are included in the license, Infor OS Essentials, and above, right side is an additional license buy. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. First up, we have Bojan and the latest in Data Fabric.
Thank you, Riina. This is Bojan Rafailovsky, part of the Data Fabric product management team. And today I'll talk about the new features that we're releasing for Data Fabric in the April 2025 release. Just to remind ourselves, what's Data Fabric? So Data Fabric represents our data platform in Infor, is the central repository where all the Infor data is stored so you can easily consume it, as well as any custom data. It's a set of powerful tools that allow you to ingest data, manage also security of the Data Fabric applications, including data security, and allows you also to consume this data by extracting it or also using it in other Infor applications. Specifically, the two features that I'll be talking about in the next slides is related to Compass. So Compass is our query platform, which allows you to query the data lake as it is a database. So it uses our Compass SQL language. It allows you to write complex queries that can allow you to explore and extract data, but also perform administrative tasks within Compass. And that's very important to know because it's one of the improvements that's coming. So the first feature for Compass is related to data catalog. Previously, before this release, whenever a catalog object schema was updated by the ERPs or by yourself, you would have to synchronize Compass by running data administrative stored procedures to retrieve the latest schema information from catalog. That represented a tedious process because customers had to continuously update every table within Compass whenever the schema would change. And that process can increase the workload that administrators do, and also it presents a difficult process in case the customer is not aware when one of the schema is updated. So to solve for that problem, we're introducing in Data Catalog a new toggle that allows you, when it's enabled, any change from the catalog schemas will be automatically reflected in the Compass metadata as well. This ensures that all the schemas and queries are up to date, so you're always using the latest information from your ERPs. It minimizes the amount of manual administration that you need to do. As well, it prevents usage of Compass with outdated schemas. I'll explain the next feature as well, and then I'll jump into the demo, so I'll show both of them within Compass. The other improvement is for the Compass query editor. So if anyone is familiar with this tool within the Data Fabric application, it has a 100 row limit. That means you cannot explore more than 100 rows within your results. That's limited by the application as well. So to solve for that problem and to reduce the need of using third-party query editing tools, we're expanding the support from 100 rows to supporting 10,000 rows in the query editor, so you can explore more data. One of the benefits of this is that within your organization, you no longer might need to use third-party query editor tools like DB or Squirrel, and we can rely on the Data Fabric application to instruct your users to explore the data from there. And it allows your users to stay within the Infor ecosystem without the necessity of leaving the Infor application and using third-party applications to access the data. With that, I'll switch over to my browser to show you a demo of these applications. So just to show firstly the schema synchronization, we have an example here with a table that's called products. It has a certain number of columns here. One of the columns that I will add now is missing there. So when I go to Data Catalog, I already have that schema called products. When I look at it, it has all the same columns that were in the Compass editor. And when I include an update for this schema, usually you will get these updates programmatically by the ERPs, but just for the demonstration purposes, I'll show you how to do it through the UI. And I'll include this updated schema, which adds a new column. And the column is about the warranty period for the product. So we successfully uploaded the schema. If I look at the schema now, it has a new column at the bottom. It's called warranty period. If I go to the Compass editor and I refresh the schema, I will also see that column warranty period. What's different from before is that now in my data catalog, this option in the right top corner of the toolbar, when I press this configuration, my Compass synchronization is turned on. What that means is that I no longer need to run on this Infor clear table stored procedure to refresh the metadata. So what I'll do now is I'll upload one new record for this table that includes that new column. I'm using the Atlas upload widget, but this would be things that are programmatically done by the ERP, so they update the schemas and start producing data with the new columns immediately. So this is uploaded, and if I run this query to get my record that I just uploaded, we will see that even without running any of the clear table or clear data statements, now I have this warranty period column included, and it's with the new value. The previous versions of these records, because it was sent without this column, because it didn't exist at the time, has these values now, but the new value is now immediately there. While I'm here, I'll also show you the improvement in the row limit. So if we execute this query, even if it's still set on 100 rows limit, when I run the count, I will see that there are more than 10,000 rows. And just to be able to access those 10,000 rows, I should switch to this drop-down option here now to 10,000. And if I run this query, it will show all the first 10. Sorry, I should have switched there to select star. and this returns now 10,000 rows. I can still export those 10,000 rows, so if I want to explore them in Excel or just to have them as CSV locally. But what we've done is we've disabled also the search here whenever there is more than 100 rows to ensure that there is still smooth performance within the query editor. So let's talk about the next feature. Our next feature is related to stream pipelines. Stream pipelines is an additional service within the Infor OS product offering. It is a tool that's intended for modeling real-time data flow between the source system and the target destinations in the scenarios when the source system is publishing data in real time as well with the streaming ingestion. It is push-based continuous model, so anything that will come through the pipeline will be continuously streamed downstream to the destination. So destinations are the component of stream pipelines where you manage the connectivity to your databases. And so far, we've supported databases like PostgreSQL and Snowflake, and we are enhancing that supportability in this release by adding destinations for SQL Server. So generally, we see from our customers that the demand for supporting SQL Server is large. Many of our customers have developed their data strategies around the SQL Server data warehouse, and they would like to use pipelines to deliver real-time data to SQL Server. So to solve for that problem, we've enhanced pipelines to support two new destinations, Azure SQL destinations, as well as Amazon RDS SQL Server. The requirements are the same as with Postgres, so we should be able to connect through the internet and authenticate with password. And the whole complete modeling experience that we already had for pipelines remains the same. So you're modeling in the same way as for Snowflake, and for Postgres is the same way for SQL Server. So the documentation that we already have is still accurate. The benefits of this is that our customers can now leverage SQL Server destinations as part of pipelines, but this should also facilitate some customers to move to the multi-tenant environments if this was one of the obstacles because they didn't have an easy way of delivering data to a SQL Server location. To show for that, I'll switch to my browser again. So to show stream pipelines, how it works with destinations for SQL Server, I'll just show where these destinations are created. I'm not going to show a demo because it's the same as for any of the destinations. But now when you come to destinations and you decide to create a new one, we have two options here for Amazon RDS SQL Server and Azure SQL Database. When I click one of these, I have to provide the standard credentials for the host, the port, the database, username, and password. And once this is filled out, you can use this destination across your pipelines to stream data into the tables. And lastly, I would like just to announce something. So because we have other features that are coming out as part of the April release, and we don't have the time to deep dive into them today, we've scheduled a Data Fabric webinar on July 1st, where we will be discussing also the enhanced data reconciliation we introduced for data ledger and streaming data, the export and import feature for the security profiles in Data Fabric, and also we'll take a look a bit deeper into streaming with stream pipelines and SQL Server to show you an example of delivering data to a SQL Server-based destination. Thank you. Rina, I'm passing this over to you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bojan. We usually post an announcement about our webinars and builder hours about 1 to 2 weeks before, so keep an eye out on that for Bojan's session. Here's the QR code and the link to the feedback form I promised, and there will be a new question now to answer. From this, we'll move on to artificial intelligence with Yasmina. Off you go.
All right, so thank you, Rina, and hello to everyone. Let's talk about the highlighted features we are releasing this April in Infor OS Artificial Intelligence. So as most of you already know, Infor AI is an application that provides AI technologies serving in the machine learning and optimization domains of AI, meaning the predictive and prescriptive analytics space. And with the help of our technologies, you can create, manage, and deploy AI models that assist and accelerate decision-making in business cases like demand forecasting, inventory optimization, product recommendations, or price recommendations, and similar. All these eventually helping to automate decisions and improve enterprise efficiency. And let's take a look at the couple of more significant features that will be coming out this April in artificial intelligence. Firstly, we've got the addition of 2 machine learning algorithms that will become available in our standard catalog for model training. That's the time series forecasting and the anomaly detection. Both of these engines are proprietary Infor algorithms that have been developed by the Augmented Intelligence Service team and are widely used for machine learning models training in various customer applications. Therefore, we identified the strong potential for reusability of these algorithms, especially as multiple infra suites are now in progress with integrating them to enhance the forecasting capabilities alongside their existing statistical methods. And you can stay tuned, of course, for upcoming announcements on their releases in the context of the respective cloud suites. The time series forecasting is an advanced engine, actually a combination of multiple algorithms that possess different strengths in terms of their adaptability to missing data, shifts and fluctuations in data trend and seasonality, ability to handle data with sporadic patterns, as well as smoothing the data for better prediction results. The engine itself integrates AutoML techniques to determine which of the incorporated algorithms to apply for best forecasting results at runtime. While the anomaly detection is an algorithm that identifies outliers in regression and time series data. This engine includes statistical methods and clustering algorithms, as well as the data segmentation capability. And on top of that, also provide various options for handling of the identified outlier. It's equipped with an explainability feature to provide insight into the factors that influence certain data points to be marked as anomalies, which greatly helps, of course, with building trust in the analysis result. This type of analysis is very often used, in fact, as a preparation for the time series data in conjunction with the forecasting engine I just talked about. So before applying it in the time series forecasting solution, the data is filtered out from the anomalies and then taken further to be used for the forecasting application. And these are the 2 advanced algorithm engines that are now available to be conveniently applied as out of the box. And next, we have the exposure of modeling APIs in the Infor API Gateway that, apart from their base functionality, also allow for intellectual property protection. The modeling functionalities are available for machine learning and optimization components and cover all the base actions in relation to data management, creation, deployment, and maintenance of AI models that users could only access through our application's interface so far. All these can now be performed in a programmatical way that is more native, more intuitive to model developers. The collection of modeling REST APIs enables seamless integration with internal and external applications and services in CI/CD pipelines and allow users to interact in this way to reduce manual effort and enable automation, enhance flexibility and scalability. The APIs support faster development workflows and simplify the integrations of AI functionalities, of course, ensuring consistent and secure access to them. Now, along with the exposing of the REST APIs, we are also enabling an intellectual property protection component to the machine learning and optimization quest, so that the data scientists from internal Infor teams, as well as partners or customers that develop models, can safeguard their intellectual investment via the API mechanism. This ensures that proprietary algorithm, custom data processing flows, SQL or Python scripts that are applied in the model building and the training, of course, are secured from unauthorized access, viewing, or replication. So by using this feature, data scientists can confidently deploy their AI models and mitigate the risk of exposing sensitive information, their copying or redistribution. So with this enhancement, we are strengthening and promoting trust in security of users' efforts, of course, making sure that intellectual property remains protected where this is needed. And these are the major features Infor AI will be releasing in April. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmina. There is also an AI builder hour in the works, so keep an eye out for that. And here is the QR code again. So we are really pushing for the feedback this session. We'll move on to GenAI with Natalia.
Hello and welcome to the Infor GenAI part. I am Natalia Ptaszek and I am the Senior Product Manager for this specific application. Let's deep dive into what Infor GenAI is. Infor GenAI is the generative AI platform which leverages the power of the large language models, in short LLM, in order to support a multitude of natural language processing use cases. Among them, we can distinguish, for instance, the authoring text generation embedded into the screens of application, but also the GenAI assistant, so our conversational chatbot, allowing us to retrieve the data from multiple different sources using the human-like conversation. The GenAI platform helps us to automate the time-consuming business tasks such as the report generation or the complex item description creation. But it is also allowing us to retrieve the information in a very quick and efficient way using the conversational UX. The GenAI assistant is our chatbot, which is allowing us to use the natural language, so the way we talk human to human, in order to retrieve the data from Infor Cloud Suites. It uses the API communication in order to get the data from a specific application, and it uses the power of large language model to understand what user was asking for and also create a final response in a contextual manner. The actions user can take through the GenAI assistants, it is called a tool. A tool actually is associated with the agent, which means that agent is collection of very simple tasks. And as part of the agents, you can define a sequence how to invoke the tools in a specific workflow. You can think of the agent as the persona, or you can think of it as the business object level, meaning that you can define the agents such as the buyer persona, which means that this agent will be executing the tasks for this specific persona within your system, or you can define it more on the business object level, meaning that this specific agent will be executing all the tasks connected to this business object, like for instance requisition. The GenAI assistant is released as limited availability from April 2025, which means that we will be running the early adoption program with the limited set of the customers to try out this conversational user experience, provide us with the feedback in order that we can improve it before we go GA, so globally available. We know that, for instance, finding the specific information throughout the screens of Infor Cloud Suites might be time consuming. And also, you need to, first of all, as said, go to those multiple pages, scrape the information, and then put it together. With the conversational UX, such as GenAI Assistant, you can streamline all your asks in one single place. You can ask a very complex query, and the GenAI Assistant will be able to follow that and execute, for instance, the events in a chain in order to provide you with the response in line with your question. It's a very quick and efficient way of retrieving information from the system. Let's jump to the short demonstration of the GenAI assistant. First of all, whenever a GenAI is deployed on your tenant, you will see the screen. And then you can find the GenAI assistant in the side panel by clicking the conversation icon. I created the agent which is allowing me to deal with my user profile. And first of all, I asked it to change my language to Swedish. As it successfully changed the language to Swedish, right now I will talk to it in Swedish in order to update my language to English now. Once I execute it, it will prompt me that the language was successfully changed and I may need to refresh the application. I can start a new conversation as part of my GenAI assistant screen, and I can select from the list of predefined conversation starters, which are the hints what I can ask the GenAI assistant. Right now, I ask what are the applications I have access to, and I can ask a follow-up question, what is my title, to get some more information about my user profile within the system. I can also ask more complex query to make the GenAI assistant do some reasoning. Like, for instance, tell me what is my local setting, and if it is not English, please change. And it replied that English is my local setting, so there is no need to change, but I still ask a follow-up question to change it to Swedish. He also prompted me that I may need to refresh the application to see the changes. And before I've done it, actually, I ask other questions how I can get more information or supporting language in Infor OS Platform. I did a grammar mistake. Instead of saying supporting language, to see if it really understood and corrected me. And as you can see, it did. So using the chat icon, I can start a new conversation. I can also check the conversation history as part of my GenAI assistant. I can pin the side panel with GenAI Assistant to move the screen, but also I can expand it to the full screen. I can check the About and get an easy access to the user guide as well as transparency note for GenAI. Thank you so much for checking the new feature for the GenAI Assistant, but let's move forward to the next one, which is the GenAI Knowledge Hub. So GenAI Knowledge Hub is a capability within the GenAI Assistant, which is allowing us to retrieve the knowledge coming from the documents using natural language. So the same way we would like to retrieve the information coming from the Infor Cloud suites. We distinguish two types of the GenAI Knowledge Hub capability. One is the GenAI Private Knowledge Hub, and the second one is GenAI Public Knowledge Hub. The GenAI Public Knowledge Hub is allowing us to chat against the Infor public documents, such as the product user guides, installation guides, administration guides, which are exposed on docs.infor.com. And the second one, so the Private Knowledge Hub, is the capability of chatting against the customer-specific documents exposed in Infor Document Management, in short IDM. For now, we'll be focusing on the GenAI Private Knowledge Hub because this is the capability which will be released as limited availability from April 2025. We understand that our customers' employees, they have a hard time and several challenges while scanning through the long document. It is very time consuming and even sometimes frustrating to retrieve the information from such long business documents written in a plain text, especially where we don't know exactly where to look for the information. We wanted to streamline this specific ask and allow our customers to actually retrieve the knowledge from the business documents using the conversational UX, meaning that you can use the natural language in order to ask a question to the GenAI assistant, and it would be capable of checking the list of the available documents in IDM and retrieve the knowledge from it in context of your question. Thanks for it. We can find the information in way more quicker and efficient way. But what is also important is that we can streamline all the asks in one place. It means that we can not only ask the GenAI assistant about my data within the Infor Cloud Suite, but also ask to retrieve the information from a specific document. So with that, I created a very short demonstration on how to define the document type, which will support the GenAI, meaning that it will be exposed for the GenAI assistant. And for that, you can create the new document type and select the Enable GenAI flag. Or you can also update the existing document type. And for the purpose of the demonstration, I also created two attributes, two URL attributes as part of my document type definition. And I've done it because you can also generate the URL for your specific document, and you can use it just the IDM drawback URL, or you can actually also use the URL defined as part of your attribute on the document type. What is more, all the documents which will be saved as part of this document type for which the GenAI flag was enabled, those are the documents which will be exposed through the GenAI Assistant interface, and the GenAI Assistant will be able to retrieve the knowledge from them. So it is on the tenant admin to decide actually which exact documents, or rather document types, should be exposed through the GenAI Assistant. And the second demonstration, which I would like to show you, shows the use of the GenAI in order to retrieve some information on the EU AI Act document, which I've uploaded to IDM. So I'm asking a question: what is considered the high-risk AI according to the EU AI Act? And it was able to provide me with the answer in line, coming straight from the EU AI Act I exposed. I can ask it for a question: what are the requirements for the high-risk AI implementation? And as it provided me the answer in a very plain text, I will ask it to actually format it for me so I can easily grasp it. So with that, thank you so much for staying with me for the GenAI features update for the April 2025.
Thank you, Natalia. Natalia will continue with RPA, but before she does, I just wanted to give you the link to the feedback form again. So please go ahead and give us some feedback. Thank you.
Infor RPA allows you to automate the repetitive, high volume, and time consuming tasks, which normally would be run by your employees and today can be run by the software robots or bots. Infor RPA is part of the Infor OS, and it is a multi-tenant cloud solution. However, it consists of components which can be installed also on your on-premise device, as well as those residing in the multi-tenant cloud environment. One of them is RPA Studio, which is our IDE environment, needs to be installed on the on-premise device, for instance, laptop, and it allows us to prototype and test the RPA flows. Once the RPA flow is ready, the RPA developer can publish it to the RPA management. And this is our multi-tenant cloud application under Infor OS, which is allowing us to manage the RPA processes. While introducing the RPA to automate your business processes, you can free up your employees to focus on more value-added and creative tasks. It also allows us to do the cost saving while running the automation on a very manual tasks. For the April release 2025, we've introduced the new set of the PDF activities, part of the RPA Studio. Our RPA Studio provides the low-code experience with a very extensive set of pre-built automation activities. The automation activity is actually a task which you're asking the bot to execute as part of your RPA sequence. With the PDF native activities, we can now automate in a very easy way any tasks against the business documents in PDF format. Previously, using the RPA Studio, you could already automate the tasks against the PDF business documents. However, you needed to define it in a very complex way as part of your RPA sequence. With the native PDF activities, you can do it in a way smoother way and less complex. We are supporting the extraction of the text, extraction of the images, split of the PDF documents per page or per size with cutoff point of 5 megabytes. But also we are able to extract the page count. Thanks for the introduction of the native PDF activities, we can speed up the development process and it becomes less error-prone. So with that, let's take a look at the short demonstration, which I've recorded for you. So using the PDF activities, we'll be reading the PDF file, which I am just showing. It is actually our Infor training on how to use the PDF activities. Right now, I'm going to RPE Studio, our IDE environment, where I've already prototyped the RPE sequence with all those PDF native activities. You can see a list of the activities on the left-hand side as part of the activities panel. And right now, we'll be configuring the extract PDF text. And for that, we need to provide the file path and also create the variable for text extraction. Next, we will append the extracted text to the already created txt file. And for that, we need to define the text, which was extracted from the PDF document as a variable, and also provide the path to the document into which append the line. The next activity in a sequence is extract PDF images. And for that, again, we need to provide the path to the PDF document itself from which we'll be extracting the images, and directory path, where we'll be saving all those images. The next activity will allow us to retrieve the page count from PDF. So here, we also need to provide the path to the PDF, as well as create a variable to store the page count. Later on, this page count will be also appended to the txt file where we've already saved the other text. And for that, we will be also defining the path to the txt file. At the end, we will split the PDF document per page and save it to the provided directory. Now we will run the flow. And in the output panel, we can simply check if all the activities were executed by checking the activity code, if it is 200. And if it was 200, it means everything was executed the way it should. Now we can check the txt file and check if the text was appended, as well as scroll down to the button to see if we also appended the page count. Then we can go to the directory where we save the retrieved images. And the last directory to check is to see if we've saved all the documents of type PDF after the split of the major PDF document. So with that, let's move forward to the other enhancement, which was also added to our RPA Studio. It is the code completion. Code completion feature provides the real-time suggestions and auto-completion of specific syntaxes. It is allowing us to code our RPA flow way faster, and also it is less error-prone. So today, the developers, they face the challenges like the syntax error, not knowing which the exact method to use for a specific data type. And it is also sometimes complex even to debug it. And with the code completion as part of the text expression editor, they can get the real-time suggestions on the list of available variables and arguments, but also the methods and syntaxes they can use within this specific editor. It speeds up the development process, but it also helps the people who are new to RPA Studio, and for instance, they don't really know how to use the VB expressions. With the code completion, they can get the suggestions on what exact methods they can use for a specific data type. So let's check quickly a short demonstration of how the code completion can be used. So I will be creating a very simple RPA flow. And for that, first I created the variable of type integer, and I will be displaying it as part of my message box. So inside of the input text, which is the expression editor, you see as soon as I start typing, I got prompted with the available variables. And then once I click dot, I was also prompted with the available methods. And the method I choose is toString, which means that as part of my automation flow, in order to show the value, I needed to transform the string to the integer to string. and expose it as part of the message box, as you could see.
Thank you again, Natalia. And surprise, surprise, here's the QR code and the link to the feedback form, and there's a new question in there. From here, we continue with Birst and Analytics and Tiffany.
Thank you so much, Rena. I'm Tiffany Canada, and I am the Birst product manager. And today we're going to be talking about the analytics widget that you can now use in your workspaces. But before we get started, I want to highlight what is the difference between Birst and analytics. So Birst is the platform that you receive that you can do all kinds of business intelligence analysis capabilities. As part of your Cloud Suite, you also get a version of Birst called Cloud Suite Analytics. And this is going to include pre-built analytics that are available to you to use for your solution that you can also customize to make applicable to your specific industry or corporation. Today, we're going to be talking about our new analytics widget, and every customer who has Cloud Suite Analytics will get access to this new widget that will be available in your workspace with the April release. This widget is going to integrate content from Birst or EPM, but do keep in mind that in order to use EPM content, you would need to have an EPM license. This is going to bring in any type of visualization from either of these two applications into your workspace so that you can have your end users start to get used to understanding graphs, understanding your KPIs, and making better data-driven business decisions. So to talk about the widget, one of the challenges that we've had in the past is being able to visualize these charts in an easy and flexible manner. And so we have this ability now that you can add in any type of analytics from the Birst application or EPM, and it will essentially be there every time you open that workspace each day. And we're going to jump into a little bit of a demo of this here in just a moment. Our standard widget is designed for that portal experience. So this is utilizing APIs in the background and doing direct connections into Birst and EPM without requirements of an iframe or session issues that you may have had in our previous widget that we provided. We have over 30 different chart and configurations for you to choose from, and it's a very simple to use and manageable widget. So today we're going to go ahead and jump in and talk about how you can add a widget into your workspace. So for this example, I'm in a workspace with content from M3 Food and Beverage. So you can see here that I already have a couple of different visualizations loaded into this workspace. And we're going to talk about what are some of the capabilities that you have within configuration, and then how you add an additional one into a already existing workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into configure here. And you'll notice at the top that we have different options that will allow you to do a title or a subtitle. You can also see that you can still do just the same things that you can do in Birst, where you can actually do a filter based off of that lassoing. And then I can just simply reset that to see what the original looked like. You can also zoom in onto the axis. So if you want to have a more granular view of a specific year, time frame, month, whatever the case may be, you can make changes like that here as well. You can also change your query. So this query is coming directly from the food and beverage content that is provided. And you have different chart modes that you can choose from. These are the same chart modes that you see with dashlets within the Birst experience within dashboards. We also have chart options that will allow you to do things like display values or turn on the x-axis or turn it off. Same with the y-axis. So a lot of flexibility in terms of configurations. We also can set up things like context messaging. And if you're more interested in understanding things like context messaging or creating drills and hyperlinks, then definitely check out our Using the Analytics widget video that is provided on campus. And then lastly, I just want to touch on the data formatting capabilities. We are going to automatically set this to auto. So you'll notice that whenever I turn on my display values here, everything showed with an M for millions. And that is because I have this set as the auto option so that it will basically know if it needs to do thousands, millions, billions, etc. You can also make things into a percentage. So you have a lot of different options. And of course, this is talking about sales. So I want to also add in the sales sign here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that and just a quick and simple view of some of the configuration options. But let's talk about how I add a new widget into the workspace. The first thing I want to do is make sure that I have a chart available that I want to see. So in this particular scenario, I'm in M3 Analytics Sales domain, and I've created a chart utilizing the year, month, and the invoice net amount. This is basically the same requirement that you would do anytime you're building a visualizer report. The only difference here is that instead of actually saving this report, all I need to do is just get that query. So once you've created a report, or maybe there's even a report out there already that's created, you can just go into that toolbar and select copy. I'm then going to travel back into my workspace here, and I'm going to go ahead and put this into edit mode so that I can add an additional widget. So here I can go into business intelligence, and you will see this new analytics widget option here that will be available in that April release. And I'm just going to go ahead and add that in. A few things that you can also do is you can also manage and edit how large you want that particular widget to be. So you have a lot of flexibility. And as you notice when I open this, depending on the size that you've selected, will also show in the widget configuration. So let's just make this a little bit smaller than this previous one. And we're going to go ahead and configure this widget. So you're first going to select your product. So in this scenario, we're going to utilize Birst, and then it's going to ask you to select an application. So these applications are based off of the different content that has been provisioned to you. If you have content that is customized, then that is definitely something that we can also help you with. There are some additional steps that you can find in our documentation that walk you through how to set up a custom space to show that in this application screen. The next thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and copy and paste that query. We'll validate it to make sure that this is correct syntax. And one thing I do want to note here is that whenever you're copying that query, it's not going to automatically alias your different columns. So in here, I'm going to go ahead and change this to invoiced amount so that that is what I see whenever I do a hover. And then also I'm going to add month here. And again, this is just an alias, so this doesn't change anything on the Birst side. It's just changing the alias of how you view that data within the application or the widget itself. So then I'm going to go ahead and hit next, and it's going to render a chart for me. So this is going to automatically set me up as a bar chart, and you can see all kinds of different options here. Another thing that I want to highlight is that depending on the data that you're returning through your query will determine which compatible charts are available to you. So if you see a chart that is grayed out, like you do for this heat map, for example, that is because the query that I've provided is not compatible with that heat map, because a heat map is typically looking for two different attributes and a measure. And in this scenario, I only have one attribute and a measure. So that's just something to think about when you're creating something. You want to make sure that you're providing the accurate query to give you the chart type that you're looking for. So you can see we can do different things like a bar chart, column, line, which I'm just going to go ahead and leave this as a line chart today. And we've already walked through a lot of the different configuration. Again, we talked about the context messaging. So if you do want to learn more about that, definitely check out that additional training video that we have. And I'm just going to go ahead and add in my display values and come in here and change this to currency. We'll do that in dollars in this scenario. And now I'm going to change the actual title. So a few different things that you can do here is you can have a widget name. So I'm going to just call this invoiced amount, and then I'm going to make that subtitle for year 2020. And you can also add a description here as well that will allow you to hover and understand a little bit more about what this chart is telling you. So if you're creating this for other users, you have that capability as well. So once I hit finish, now it's going to come into the widget, and we can also just showcase here. You can make changes. Everything is going to continue to change based off of the widget size that you select. And you can move different things around. So if I wanted to actually put this one down here, so all the same flexibility that you had before is still going to be applicable here in this widget as well. And then a couple of things I just want to notate is that this is considered limited availability. So you'll continue to see additional capabilities coming over the next few months, things like being able to bring your KPIs into the new KPI ribbon, and then also some additional capabilities like conditional formatting, and also the ability to change attributes between measures, add them to a color bucket. So a lot of really exciting capabilities that we'll be bringing over the next couple of months. And thank you so much. I'm going to pass it back to Rena.
Thank you, Tiffany. Tiffany will be doing a builder hour on the new analytics widget in June, an announcement for that later. In the agenda next, we have Rohan and IDP.
Thank you, Rena. So my name is Rohan Somasundaram. I'm a senior product manager within the platform technology team, otherwise known as Infor OS. And I'm going to take you through a nice feature that we have for IDP, which is our Infor document processor. So just as a quick overview, IDP is a document digitization platform that essentially extracts data from business documents. And this helps organizations have less manual intervention, and you spend less time handling documents that come in, for example, invoice processing. Now, we have a really, really nice tier 1 feature that's IDP with GenAI. So we already had our existing Infor document processor technology as part of the October 2024 release. This is now IDP with GenAI. And this essentially offers the ability to extract data using LLMs, or large language models. And this provides some enhanced benefits. Just for more information on the back end, we're using Anthropic Claude Sonnet. That's the model we're using, the LLM. And so with tailored prompts passed to these LLMs, we are able to dynamically extract content from the document, as well as the entities within that document. Now, I mentioned that GenAI provides some enhanced capabilities in terms of OCR, or optical character recognition, as it relates to IDP. Number one, you don't have to train models. So you don't need to provide sample documents and train models in order to build out the model itself, because it's using large language models and all the data that's running behind the scenes in these vast data storage. It's able to use prompts that you provide the LLM and give back results. It also has enhanced context of the document, and you'll see this provides some benefits. So first, in line level reading and classification, because LLMs are able to retain context, you are able to, for example, have the header information on the first page of a document and lines run to subsequent pages on that document. And the LLM is able to understand the context of the document, and retains context across multiple pages for enhanced line level reading and classification. It also has better multi-language support. Now, because these LLMs are powered by crowdsourcing and the vast amount of information that keeps getting retrained into the model, it's able to provide more language support. And so this is all powered by these LLMs again, and as they improve, so will IDP with GenAI. So it only will get better with time. But with that, let me show you a quick demonstration of IDP with GenAI, just so you get an idea of what it looks like. And first, I'm going to build out a document processor flow for using GenAI, and we'll do an example using invoice processing. So let me create a quick document processor flow. I'll go to the next panel. This is the name of the document processor flow. And if you remember from a previous session, we went through how to create a document processor flow and what even is a document processor flow. So I encourage you to go through that as a refresher if this is new to you. Now, let's have an invoice classification document class built here. I'm going to use a pre-trained model using GenAI just for the sake of time to pre-populate the entities. Now, if you wanted to create your own document class that's custom for your use case, you can add in your own entities here and add in whatever name of the entity, the type of entity, the prompt that will be passed to the large language model, as well as the IDM attributes and whether it's a required field or not. For the sake of time, I'm going to use the pre-configured pre-trained model, and we're not going to have any IDM document types where this scanned document will be automatically saved to IDM. So this is how you create a new document class. And again, we're using GenAI technology, and so you have prompts here that will be passed to the LLM. You can also see some table data here as well. So you have the column names, the type, the prompt again. So you can see that's table information. Let's go back and save this as a document class. We'll go to the next panel and create the activities in this document processor flow. So because this is purely an invoice classification model, we don't need to classify what type of document it is. We know that the document coming in is an invoice, but we will have entity classification so we can identify the entities within that invoice document, such as the invoice number invoice date, payment amount, so on and so forth. Again, we won't save the document to IDM, so I will go on to the next panel. And here you can see the prompt that has been configured. Now, largely, this is all pre-configured with Infor pre-configured content, but you can see that the clues that you had entered on the document class portion of this document processor flow has been added into the prompt. And so you could see if I go to invoice number, for example, the unique identifier assigned to the invoice, this was provided here in the document class portion of the document processor flow. You can also add additional clues if you wanted to for enhanced accuracy. If you find that the results are not to the standard that you're expecting, you can increase confidence by providing more clues potentially. In this case, we will stick with the clues that were provided originally in the document class portion of the document processor flow. Additionally, here are some pre-configured instructions that are passed to the LLM as well. You can again add additional instructions if you need to. And finally, you have some table data as well that were provided during the document processor flow document class builder in this activity builder. So here you can see all the table data that is pre-populated as well using the clues that were given in the previous document class portion. We'll go next. And here you can just see a summary of what you've created. You can see it's an invoice classification model. There's 25 entities, and the provider is using GenAI as the OCR engine. So let's select Done and save this document processor flow. Now we can go to the overview and test this document processor flow. So invoice processing flow _ Rohan. This is the processor flow we just built. I'm going to upload a file, and we'll take this invoice. You can see here the invoice was scanned in on the left-hand side of the page. This is the document that was inputted. You can see it's a standard invoice with invoice number and then the number corresponding, the invoice date, the payment amount, so on and so forth. You can even see some table data here. So you could see the item numbers that are corresponding with this table data. And additional information as part of the invoice. Here, if you go to the entities portion, you could see all the content that has been extracted. So we take the invoice number, for example. This invoice number corresponds to the invoice number that is on the invoice itself. Similarly, for the invoice date, you can see that the invoice date corresponds to the invoice date, and so on and so forth. You are provided a document confidence here at the top of the page. You can see how confident the OCR capability is in the extraction that was performed. Additionally, if you go to the table data here, you can see the table information that has been extracted as part of this invoice. So you can see the corresponding line numbers and the items that correspond in this invoice itself. That is just an example of how you use IDP with GenAI capability as the backbone for the OCR as part of Infor Document Processor. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to you, Rena.
Thank you, Rohan. There is an IDP IDM Builder Hour in the works, an announcement for that later. And so you don't forget, here's the QR code and the link to the feedback form. Next up, we have EPM with Nick.
So thanks, Rena. Let's probably go into the EPM field and see what's happening in EPM. First of all, I am Nick Gladkov. I'm leading product management team here in EPM product management group, and we will talk about what we're going to show you in April. Before that, a very quickly reminder that whatever we do, we typically try to put it inside these 5 strategy buckets. We're doing either improvements for planning, reporting, financial consolidation piece, doing our modeling and administration tools easier and more functional for you, or enhancing the core features of the EPM framework. Same thing for that release. We were focusing mainly on 3 areas. Reporting, where you can see we added quite a few different features. Probably The best ones are around the workspaces, Excel improvements for Excel add-in, and of course the web ad hoc. I will show you in a second a couple of them, but the ones that I'm missing is probably delete function or ability to delete values from Excel integration, something that many of you asked. I will not show you much with filtering, but please pay attention to that. It's under the early adoption stage, so you will need to go through some kind of enablement to get to that. And also for those of you who are working with Application Studio, I guess you will also hear quite a few positive messages about App Studio from April release. Other two areas are consolidation and framework. With consolidation, we added couple of, or more than a couple of really cool features, ability to drill back to our own info solutions, coming out of the box to you within the application. Ability to jump from our standard reports to your own custom reports without kind of hardcore configuration. Do some kind of custom validation checks and the custom rate types. And then the framework, I think the two most important ones are adoption of Infor GenAI. So going forward, you will hear more and more features coming out of the box, pre-delivered to you. But with April release, we added a core support to it. So you can start working with this even now, and then you will get more from us. And the second one is semi-additive measures. So typically I'm talking about things like headcount. And the headcount, when you have 10 employees in January, February, and March, it doesn't mean that you have 30 employees in the quarter. While OLAP does do that, it just aggregates the values up. So what we did, we added a new type of aggregation where you can define how you want those values to go up over the period dimension. So in this example, I probably will take last period, and the quarter one will take 10 employees from March. So once again, you will have much more talking about that. There are a couple of trainings that we are doing with that release. Please try to find them. If you have any issues, reach out to us. But as I said, there are many, many, many features. I will not have time to show all of that. So let me just jump to a few of them. Let's jump over here to the demonstration. And the very first one, it's ability to connect your financial reporting application, our EPM reporting application, with Workspace. Not only we have just kind of ability to connect and to show your own widgets, we give you a couple of examples how it can look like. And by couple, I actually mean 3. So we have, the first one is this kind of landing page with the KPIs where you can define what type of KPIs do you want to see for what period and then whatever else. There is some configuration over here that you can say that, yeah, I want to see that or that or that. Same with the period. And then we added 2 chart types, again, as an example. You can adjust that, you can use it, you can build your own ones. The first one is just to show you some trend over your periods. And the second one is comparison, where you can, for instance, compare budget with actuals. That's one. The other one is, so here I have my ad hoc report where I have simple example with my products and the rows and my periods and the columns. And let's say I just expand my periods. I expand it to months, and then I click to the February, and I clicked it by mistake, or I forgot what it is to keep selection, and all my selection now disappeared. So now what we did with April release, you can, without redefining the periods once again, do simple undo. And now we can see that, I have not only undo and redo, and you can go to the whole history of the actions that you did. In one instance, it's when you did something that changed the way how you see the values. Another example might be when you select values and applied some fill style and you don't like it. You say, oh no, I don't want to now manage it. You also can undo these things. So that's kind of cool feature by itself, where you're now managing what do you see on the report. And if you did some actions that change the way how your report looks like and the number or amount of the values that you see, you can easily undo it in this example. Another feature that I quickly mentioned, and I said I will not go into more details or kind of high level of details, is the ability to add filters. So now you can add filters which can be either attribute or value. Let's say You're working with products. In products, you have your product managers that you can see here on the preview. And you can say that you want to show only the products with the product manager, Michael, or whoever else. You can also work with value filters and say, show me only non-zero values, or show me only the values, only the products which have sales over 10,000 or whatever else. That feature, while it's very powerful, we put it under toggle, which means you will not get it by default. If that's something that your company requires, please create a support ticket, please reach out to us, and we work on enablement with showing you how to use that, and your next steps basically will be given to you in the support ticket. So with that, I think that's kind of very quick preview of APM release. Once again, we released many more. You saw the list. It's quite a long list of exciting features. If that's something that excites you, I'm super happy. If you need more information, as always, please reach out to us via support or with your account manager just directly if you have our contacts. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nick. We'll move on to governance, risk, and compliance with Nikit.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikit Lodi. I'm the product manager for the governance, risk, and compliance solution. And in this session, we will be looking at the new enhancements that have been delivered as a part of the April release. We'll not be diving into each one of them, but we'll look at a specific enhancement that has been made available with the April release. So before we dive into the enhancement, let's do a quick recap of what is GRC. So GRC is a cloud-enabled governance, risk, and compliance solution, and it allows the internal controls team or the business owners to perform continuous controls monitoring. And it helps the organizations using our out-of-the-box controls to optimize their audit process, minimize the business risk, and improve operational efficiency. So with that, let me introduce you to the enhancement. So with the April release, we are introducing this innovative enhancement, which is called role recommendation. And we are using the power of artificial intelligence to deliver this enhancement. So essentially, what will this will do is it will recommend the roles at the time of user provisioning so that you are selecting the roles which will have a lesser chance of getting rejected as a part of the approval process that we have in InfoGRC. So let's dive a little bit into the details of this enhancement. So in Infor we have a particular feature which is called Access Manager, and it allows you to proactively look for segregation of duty violations and sensitive access violation, and then route the access change through an approval process, and then the access is actually granted into the underlying ERP in an automated way. So at the time of submitting this access change request, it is a challenge for the IT administrator to select the appropriate role, and there are possibilities that the role will get rejected as a part of the approval process. So what we are doing is we are leveraging artificial intelligence, and we are using the historical approval process information and the existing security role assignment information to train the model. And using this information, we are providing recommendation along with a score, and that is what will help the IT team submit the appropriate changes. And then what will the eventual benefit will be is that there will be reduced rejections during the approval process. It will put less pressure on the IT team to select the accurate assignment, and it will also optimize, and the assignment process will be timely and quicker with this overall improvement. There are also some other enhancements that we have delivered as a part of the April release, and you can take a closer look at all the details in the recordings or the trainings that will be available as a part of Infor, and you can definitely go ahead and check that out. So with that, let me switch over to a demo system and let's see this enhancement live in action. Okay, so in GRC, you can navigate from manage and go to the provisions page. And this is the place where you would submit the access change management or user creation related requests. So let's go to access management, and there we can select a data source for which we wish to change the access for this particular user. So I'm selecting a data source with multiple applications in it. And let me also pick a user who has some assignments, and we are trying to modify this user's access. And when you select the information, you will see the current roles that are already assigned to the user. You can continue to use the existing feature like adding without any recommendation, but this is the new button that will be available after the April release. When you click on this button, you will see a screen to select which application you would wish to get the recommendation for. So let me select Landmark, which is a platform for which I want to select the roles, and I click on next. And at this point, GRC will execute the endpoint in artificial intelligence platform. It will look at all the data that has been provided to the training model, and using that information, it will come up with a recommendation of all the roles, and it will also try to show me the score and the application and other information. And as you can see, it has returned the recommendations. There are these security roles from the landmark based applications that have been recommended, and you can see a score. It is sorted with the top score at the starting point, and then it is in the descending order. So the lower scores will be all the way at the bottom. And you can pick and choose the role that is most relevant, and then you can continue with the access change request, and it will be submitted, and then it will go through the regular approval process and SOD analysis check after the role is assigned in this combination. And a good thing about this particular enhancement is that it is not services driven, but it is already embedded and built in into the GRC application. So we will publish the documentation to configure this enhancement or enable this enhancement, but let me quickly show you what is needed. So there's a page that is available under manage, which is called data replication, which will enable you to publish the required data from GRC to train the model. So we have the provision history and we have the monitor data, which contains the existing assignments. And once this is published to data fabric, we will use that for configuring and training the model. And from an enablement perspective, you can go to settings, configuration, and that will take you to a page where you see feature management. And at this point, you have an option to click on this slider, and it will automatically trigger an ion workflow, and it will create the data set. So let me show you that part. So I'm now in artificial intelligence platform, and you can see that the data that is required as an input for the model is already created via an ion workflow, so which is the existing user assignments and the provision history. And then it will also deploy the quest that is needed. It will create that, and in the quest, the data that is needed to train the model is already in place, which is the provision history and the existing assignment. It will use this. So this is a typical classic logistical regression model that has been created, and we are using the input for training the model, and then this is what is getting submitted as an input for the model, and then eventually the model is getting ready, and then there's an endpoint that will be created, which will be leveraged as an API in GRC to give you the recommendation, and that's where the real magic will happen. So that is what we looked at to summarize the recommendation engine model that is now integrated and available for the user provisioning in GRC. And that's what we have as a part of the April release. Feel free to check out the other announcement at Infor. So with that, we can conclude the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikit. The next Builder Hour we will have is in May with Nikit and GRC. As I said before, if you have any ideas or requests for Builder Hour or webinar topics, we'd love to hear them. Leave your suggestions in the Q&A box. Next up is Thomas with Process Intelligence.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Rina. And my name is Thomas Schmidt. I'm the product manager for Infor Process Mining as part of Process Intelligence. And I want to guide you through what's new in the 2025.04 release. Just briefly, Process Intelligence, Process Mining specifically is new tool. Since October 24, Infor has it, and it used to uncover pattern trends and anomalies in process execution to basically give you a transparent view into your process performance. And it really helps businesses and organizations to understand their processes, really understand them on a data level, and help with continuously improving these processes. We will look at 4 main features today, and the first one is part of Infor's broader initiative of adopting GenAI. to improve productivity and efficiency in the process analysis. And what we derive as use case from that is summarizing a process, summarizing the overview page, which we have in all the info standard content, which has tons of metrics, charts, and interesting things in it, but it's just a lot of data to digest in one go. So the summary is really meant to help customers gain a head start into understanding what's happening here. And it's really deriving some key points and some recommendations even. So it's very helpful. And showing it in the product, just because we're aware of the time. So pressing this button here on the overview page of any insight will generate a summary. That takes a few seconds. I did that already. So this summary just directly goes straight in. Like, what does the process show? It's a dashboard. It shows the procure-to-pay process. It shows these 4 main processes down here. It talks about cycle time, case count, talks about the general volume, figures out anomalies. For example, we have a low number of cases going through put away to inspection stage. It's pointing out data quality and granularity issues. And then also talks about different stakeholders. For example, the finance team would be interested into the invoicing process, whereas procurement and operation teams might look more into the first stages of the process. That's the summary generation. Pretty neat tool. Now, let me move on. The next one is we now offer the option to push mining data into the workspaces. Workspaces really act as the central hub of data in the Cloud Suite. And process mining now offers 2 widget types, the chart and the single metric, that can be pushed there. And that makes it possible for the workspace to consume data from process mining without actually going there. The benefit here, obviously, is customers can visualize mining metrics in a workspace together with data from workflows, the ERP system, even websites. So all the things that the workspace can offer, mining is just another building block to making a very useful, very helpful workspace. And on the right, you see a screenshot, but what's better than a screenshot is to see it in action. So in mining, what you will see is a chart like this one here. Procure to pay, cycle time versus industry. It's a time series chart showing us the performance of procure to pay against an industry benchmark over time. Now, if we go into the configure screen of that widget, we have the option to publish a widget to Workspace. And I already did that prior to the demo. That's where you see this little indicator icon here that this is already published. What that means is in my blank workspace I created for this training, I can add now widgets. So there's a process mining chart, there's the thingometric. What we published was a chart. Let's pick that. And let's give it the space it needs, right? Make it really wide, really high. It's a big widget, a lot of data. And let's save it. And now this is the box, the canvas, right? But in here we can configure, and we configure by picking from published information. So I published from food and beverage, what new, the overview page. And on there is just one chart that was published, and that's the procure to pay, cycle time versus industry. Let me pick that. And you see, this is what you see in mining as well. So chart, you have some configuration options here on the right with custom label, changing this, changing that. And you see your industry benchmark versus your actual cycle time data. Pretty nice stuff. All right, let me go back to mining and then back to my presentation for topics 3 and 4. Process conformance is one of the main components of process mining. It ensures that the data we capture in process mining has a home, has a foundation, which is the business process models, which are part of the industry process catalog that every customer in the multi-tenant cloud get for free as part of Infor Process Intelligence. That feature was released last October. So now we really enhance this by adding 2 key improvements. The first is the ability to map multiple BPMN diagrams in an insight to align it closer to the structure of the IPC content. And the second one is conformance violation. So multi-diagram mapping, you will see that in the tool in a second. Benefit is easy. It's just making sure that you can properly compartmentalize the diagrams into logical units, sub-processes and stuff, and arrange it on the screen. in comparison and contrast to what we had before, which is you need to build one diagram to fit it all. And user-defined conformance violations really gives us the option to define in a process very granularly, like this specific flow of events, which are otherwise nice and well, but I don't want them in this order, right? So it gives us really nice flexibility into really digging into the conformance part. So back to the application. What you see here is this is what we had previously, just one diagram to fit it all. And let me actually fix that by adding two diagrams. Two diagrams. I cut the procure-to-pay process into. I took the part all the way from creating the PO to goods receipt as the first. And then second part is just the invoicing, right? So I pick these two, and then I map my events, and then I press apply. And what you will see is the two diagrams in a layout of your choosing, this one being the most sensible based on how they look like. So now these are the two diagrams, and just straight out of the gate, visualizing a variant on top of this. Let me show you that. Variant 2. It starts from creating the PO purchase order line, put away of goods, and then we go into the invoicing, right? Pretty standard stuff, looks good. Now, we want to define a violation because this is good, but variant 3 is actually what I want, where after creating the PO line, I do a print of the PO line and send it to the supplier. So this is what I want, but variant 2 might be what I get. So this should not be compliant, even though it has all the events. All right, so how do I do that? I go to the conformance violations right here. I select the incorrect sequence type, and I call that PO was not sent to the supplier. Then I'm looking at create PO line as my first event, and I inverse the flow I made before, right? So I say the PO line creation is not directly followed by printing it. And that's the violation if this is happening. If my PO line creation is not directly followed by the printing of the PO line, this is a violation. So I saved that. The same variant is re-rendered, and you see the blue line turned into red line. Violation name, PO not sent to the supplier, and the event and the condition we just defined. And in contrast, variant 3, which had it, you will see it's all perfectly fine, perfectly nice. So just this little violation option gives us plenty of room to really define what we as a business think our process flow should be and should look like. And that's all I had. Thank you, Rina, and back to you.
Thank you, Thomas. Before we move on, here's the link and the QR code to the feedback form. We'll continue with Caitlin, and she's going to go through Portal and Mongoose enhancements back to back.
Hi, I am Caitlin Porter, Product Manager, and I'm here to walk you through the key highlights of OS Portal and Mongoose in the 2025.04 release. So starting with OS Portal is a web-based application platform that acts as a central hub for accessing Infor applications, content, and services. It offers a customizable and unified experience featuring role-based dashboards, widgets, and insights. The portal also supports personalization, collaboration, streamlined navigation, and making it easier for users to manage tasks and access relevant information across the entire Infor ecosystem. So our first enhancement for the 2025.04 release is the introduction of the KPI ribbon bar and the quarter size KPI widgets. So the new widgets, quarter size widgets and ribbon bar will enhance the user experience. It offers more flexible and efficient options for displaying key insights. So with the addition of the smaller widget sizes, users can now utilize the ribbon bar on workspaces to showcase multiple KPIs and key data points more effectively. So the main problem was that customers were struggling to design efficient dashboards in OS Portal because there weren't any quarter size widgets, which led to kind of cluttered layouts and made it a little harder to access key insights quickly. So by adding these quarter widgets to the new ribbon bar and workspaces, we're cleaning up that clutter, we're improving navigation, and ultimately, we're making it easier for users to consume data and make better decisions in their day-to-day activities. So here you can see I have my workspace, and you can see the new ribbon bar at the top with those new quarter size widgets. So if I click the edit icon in the top right here, I can click the add button to add a new widget to the ribbon bar. So with this enhancement comes a new standard KPI widget, quarter size widget. So here are the quarter size widgets available. I can select that and then hit save. Now with the ellipsis on the top right, I can hit the configure button, and then here I can select the value, hard code a value, or I can use this lookup to look up and create a new data source. So here I can use the API gateway or a message. In this example, I'm going to use the API gateway, and then I'm going to use this lookup to look up a direct API. So here I can select my endpoint, my suite, all of that, and which one I want to use. And then I'm just going to do a session count of logins. So here you'll notice my outputs automatically came in. So I'm just going to select change this to 30 days. And then I want to create an output. So you'll see the response, the JSON response that came in below. I'm going to select the logins from that response. And then I'm going to use a little GenAI icon and click that. And this will automatically parse that response down below and generate the expression in the path here. So I don't even have to do that myself. So then it'll give you a preview. And then here I can select an aggregate. So in this example, I want to use like a sum of all the logins from the last 30 days. And if I hit refresh, it'll give me a preview of what that value will look like. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to click save. And then I'm going to select my output I just created. And you'll notice it hard codes it at the top. Then here, I have the option to give it a label as well as a sub-label to define what that is. I can specify decimal or percent here. And then I can also add a trend value here. But for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to leave this blank. So I'm good with that. And then I'm going to hit save. And then you'll notice here my KPI updated accordingly. And now it'll show my total logins for the last 30 days. So pretty cool new feature. Okay, the next enhancement is to the application tabs in Smart Panel. So with this enhancement, we're making some updates to the desktop and mobile UI by removing the Smart Panel bar and moving the Smart Panel icons to the top right corner. We're also adding a drop menu to display multiple tabs when space is limited, and this just provides an overall cleaner, more organized interface. So the mobile UI had several issues, including misaligned tabs, non-functional overflow, close buttons, some space constraints from the Smart Panel bar, and some inconsistent navigation. So to address this, we've removed the Smart Panel bar, making it accessible now via an icon. And additionally, when space is limited, the apps will now appear under one tab with sub-menu items, which just improves the overall user experience and fixes the mobile touch issues that users were having. So here, let's start with the application tab bar at the top. You'll notice that we no longer display all the tabs next to each other. Instead, we've collected them to a single tab that lists all of your open tabs, actions, and recently closed items. So this makes it a little easier to navigate and find what you need on a smaller screen. So you'll get a similar view on the desktop. There's a drop arrow where you can access all your tabs here, as well as the other recently closed actions. For the Smart Panel, the permanent bar on the right's been removed, and now users need to click on this button in the top right to bring up the Smart Panel. So this is a feature that was released in October, and it just provides quick access to important information and actions. So you'll notice we moved some items to the app launcher or the navigation menu. So here you'll see a list of all of your workspaces, applications, and other features. And if you scroll down, you'll see all the other actions that were previously displayed in the top right corner have now been moved to the app launcher menu. So this includes things like notifications, concierge settings, and sign-on actions. So that's it for this enhancement, and I'm going to move on to Mongoose now. So we have one major release highlight that we would like to introduce for Mongoose. So Mongoose is Infor's application development framework that enables rapid low-code application development, and it helps teams quickly build and customize and deploy applications, offering flexibility, scalability for a wide range of business needs. It's all about app development, making app development faster and easier with a seamless user experience. So the major highlight from this release is the introduction of the new IDS form. This new form is built on IDS web components using unique IDS elements instead of classic Mongoose components. So while similar to existing Mongoose forms, these will include additional features specific to IDS components, so for improved flexibility and user experience. So previously, there wasn't a native Mongoose form that supported IDS web components, which led to a fragmented user experience. The solution is a new IDS form type. So phase 1 focuses on key IDS components like layouts, buttons, and inputs and pickers. Phase 2 will expand on that some more and add more componentry into there. So this will allow users to create forms that align with the IDS standards better and stay up to date with the latest component. Just an overall more cohesive and modern experience. So if I open up Mongoose and I open up the runtime builder here, we have a new option for IDS under that drop list. And I can click this and I can create a new IDS form here. So here I can specify my form name, give my form a data source, and then click finish and it'll create my new IDS form. If I open up the Mongoose designer here, you'll see now my IDS form comes predefined with this layout. And then in the toolbox on the left, you've got all of these IDS components predefined. So I can add a grid here by dragging and dropping it into this predefined layout. And then I can bind it the same way I would normally bind a grid in Mongoose. So I can bind it straight to my data source here. And then I can add some more layout componentry into here. And using these icons, I can adjust the type of layout I want, horizontal, vertical. And I can add regions. Then I can go over here into the componentry, select an input, and drag and drop it into my predefined layouts. I have these little icons here where I can adjust the width. So I can do small, medium, large, or filled. And then I can just bind them to my data properties the same way I would normally bind a Mongoose component to a data property. Over here, I'm going to add some buttons. I'm going to add another layout flex here. And then I can add some buttons here. And then if I go down, you'll notice that now I have in this IDS section, I have some predefined settings that have come through the IDS library. So all of these button themes that have come across are predefined through IDS. I could select from the list of whatever comes through, and it'll automatically apply those settings to my button. There's no configuration needed on my end. You'll notice here in the input, I also have all of these settings that come in from the IDS component that I can specify additional settings for each component. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to hit save. And if I run it in runtime, you'll notice my form is automatically responsive. It shrinks and expands, and my buttons come over with those predefined settings. So pretty cool new feature. We're going to expand on this a little more in the future. So that's all I've got today for Portal and Mongoose. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you, Caitlin. And if you want to leave feedback for Mongoose or Portal, here's the QR code and the link. We move on to Ion with Daniel.
Thank you, Rina. Hello, my name is Daniel. I'm a product manager for Infor Ion. As you may know, Infor Ion is Infor iPaaS solution, and with the help of Infor Ion, you can link any application with any other application. Infor Ion is system agnostic, so it means that we can work not only with Infor applications, but with any other applications. And for Ion, it doesn't matter where application is deployed. It can be deployed on-premise, or it can be in the cloud. We have all necessary tools to link any deployment. And as well, we provide our user possibility to create workflows and business event monitors, and then to manage tasks and alerts from these workflows and monitors. And of course, we have seamless integration with other Infor components like Data Lake. We can retrieve data from Data Lake, and we can ingest data to Data Lake. And today, during this demo session, I will give you details about 2 enhancements we are delivering in April 2025, and both of them are related to Data Lake integration. One of them is to use compass views in Ion Data Lake flows, and the second one is to load data incrementally and based on scheduler for our tool we call Data Loader. And during today's demo, I will cover 2 use cases. The first one, we will create a data loader, and then we set a scheduler for this data loader, and we load data to Data Lake, and we do it incrementally. And the second use case, we will create a compass view, and then I will show you how this view can be used in a Data Lake flow. A couple of words about Data Loader. So as you may know, Data Loader is a tool that allows you to load your data from a local database to a Data Lake. And to do so, first of all, we need to create a database connection point. And you should use data loader in a case when you need to transfer big amount of data and you do not have any complex queries or you do not need transformer data. So, as I said, firstly, we need to create a database connector. This database connector will be used by data loader to extract data from database and send it to, and then data loader sends this data to data lake. For a data loader, we have a specific type. So first of all, you need to define type of connector as a data loader. Then you need to select a database driver and then connection properties. You can check your connection. And if everything okay and you want to load data incrementally, you need to enable this checkbox. When you enable it, you can define as many incremental keys as you need. You can define keys for each table in database. For this demo purposes, I will use 2 tables, stuff and addresses. And for each table, you can define incremental key. And these keys will be used during the data load sessions. So every time we load the data from a database, we store internally values of these fields. And then during the next load session, we will filter out the data from a database based on these values. And only new data will be loaded into a data lake. Then after we are done with our connector, we need to define schemas for data that will be sent to data lake. And for database connectors, we have a convenient tool. We call it data crawler. And this tool allows you to generate automatically schemas based on database metadata. First of all, we need to define our database connector and then select tables for which we would like to create schemas. For my demo, I will use these 2 tables. On the next step, you can optionally define some additional parameters. First of all, you can define prefix, and this prefix will be added to a table name when we create a schema. I define it this way. And then for each table, you can define additional parameters, data lake parameters, like identifier path and timestamp path. Let's click next. So this is an overview of schemas that will be created. If everything is okay, we can push generate metadata button. Okay, we created our schemas for our data loader, and now we are ready to create a data loader. I will create a new one. I will define a name. And then I select my connection point. Then on document tab, I will select 2 schemas I just created. And then we added a new tab, scheduler, where you can define a scheduler for your data loader. You have 2 options. You can schedule a load all the comments without incremental keys. So when you create a database connector, all the comments where incremental keys are not defined can be scheduled by this option. And the second option is incremental load. So here we will load all the comments where we set incremental keys. You have 2 options to set a scheduling. It's basic one and advanced. Advanced, you can use a cron expression, but we will go with the basic for this demo. You can operate minutes, hours, or days. And for these demo purposes, I will leave it as 1 minute. Let's save it. And then we can go to operate page and enable our data load. You have 2 options here as well. You can run it once and for incremental load. And if you run it once, you have option to clear incremental values before the load. So if you would like to load all the data again, you can enable this checkbox, and then before the data load, we will delete all the incremental keys values for these documents, and then we will make a data load. It means all data will be loaded again. But for our use case, I will run sessions based on scheduler. Okay, I will enable it. So in a minute, the first load session should start. Meanwhile, I will show you the data that I plan to load. So I have, this is my local database. And here I have a table, staff table, one of the table. Here I have 4 records, and the second one is addresses. So here we have 603 records. So I'm expecting to get this data in data lake. We can check a data lake meanwhile. So in data lake, when we created the schemas, these schemas appeared among data lake corpus objects. We can check if we have any data here. For now, these 2 objects should be empty. Yes, they are. And let's check. So I see that the data load session is triggered. Let's wait until it's completed. I can see that data load was completed. And here in data loader, I can see the amount of information or the amount of data was sent to data lake. I see 607 rows, 603 from address table, and 4 records from staff table, and 2 data objects. I can check in details. If you have any errors during the load, data load, we will show these errors here. And when we start data load based on scheduler, as a user, we show that scheduler. And now I see that the second session is completed, and I see that 0 rows were added because I don't have any new data in our database, and we load data incrementally. So let's check data fabric. I have the data now. And let's insert a couple of records to my database. I prepared query. Paste it. Execute. Let's check the new data. Now we have 6 rows. So I'm expecting that during the next load session, I will have 2 new rows in a data lake. I see that I sent 2 new rows to data lake, and let's check the staff table in data lake. We have 6 rows here. So this concludes the first part of my demo. How you can set up the data loader and how you can set up a scheduler and load data incrementally. And now let us, based on this data, let us create a view. For example, I would like to get data from data lake based on these 2 tables. Now it should work. Okay, we have a combined data from 2 tables. And now I can save this query as a view, as a data lake view. We need to use this construct, create a view, and the name of my view will be this. So let's run query again. And now I have a view created. If I do a select, I will have the same data as I had previously. Yes. And every time we create a view, we add information about data lake views in data catalog. This one I just created, and here you can find some additional information about the view. And now I am able to use this view in my data lake flow. I will create a new one. Let's define a name. And then I will drag and drop query step and add a new query. Then I can select my views from the list of objects. So currently we are retrieving all objects and views from the data lake. And while we are doing this, I just wanted to say that all functionality we are supporting for data lake objects, we are supporting for views. So you can define the columns that you would like to get, and you can set filters for your views. And as well, you can link your views with other views and with other data lake objects. Here we see all the objects we have in a data lake and views as well. And here you can filter out this list to see, for example, only views or only tables. And let me find my view I just created. This one, I just drag and drop it on a canvas. And let me select columns from this view. I will add all of them. And here I can see the preview of my data. Here I can see my data. So this concludes my today's demo. Hopefully you will find this new functionality useful for your integration and work with data lake. And if you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to reach us. Thanks again and have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you, Daniel. Our last presenter is Sadiq. He's going to go through API Gateway and Backend as a Service as a combination presentation. Off you go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sadiq Sheikh. I'm a product manager for API Gateway and Backend as a Service. And today's session, I'm going to highlight the key features from API Gateway and Backend as a Service for April release. So first, what is API Gateway? As you know, API Gateway is the essential component in our API ecosystem. It is a management platform which is centralized entry point for all API communications that ensures unified, secure, and optimized communication between your client applications and the application services. As the API Gateway supports different topologies. That means your API service can be in hybrid scenarios, be it on-premise or in cloud. And it will also enrich your request responses with the extensive list of policies. And with the monitoring tools, auditing, and notifications, it enhances and improves the API management. And as part of this release, we have two key features. So the first one is custom specific OAuth scopes. So as we said, API Gateway is the central entry point for all API communication. It provides a very secure and strict authentication and authorization framework, wherein all the user communication need to carry a valid bearer token. But this is not sufficient to safeguard or access a particular API suite or restrict the access to a particular API suite. And scopes provide you that granular level of access control. And so far, this was implemented for all Infor provision applications. With this release, we are making this as a GA feature. And what does it mean is that with the OAuth scopes, the customer can specify their own scopes and associate those scopes to a non-Infor provision API suite. Having done that, they can use these scopes for authorized apps so that whenever a client application accesses the APIs, they will be restricted to access the intended API suite and not the rest of the API available in the API Gateway. And the benefit is definitely the granular level of security enhances the data privacy and compliance. I will demo it after the presentation. The next one is user activity audit tracking. As you know, Infor has a centralized audit and monitoring application, which actually receives all the events and provide a very extensive view of the details like the user who made the activity or the transactions, the before changes and after change, the comparisons, and the various other details, which are essential when you talk about a reliability of an applications. And this is also helpful if from a compliance point of view. If an administrator wanted to understand what changes are made, then for them it is easy if the applications have sent the data to an audit and monitoring application. In this release, API Gateway adopted Infor's audit and monitoring application. By doing so, it publishes all the user actions to this Infor monitoring services. And in the current implementation, we covered measured user actions, and the list will be available as a part of a documentation. And this is definitely enhances the tracking, what user has made to the applications, and help administrator to understand if there are any compliance issues or to mitigate, how to mitigate them. So these two are the key features that are you can watch out in the April release. And when I talk about backend as a service, again, backend as a service is an essential component of our API offerings. So BaaS provide a comprehensive lifecycle management that actually abstract your complex infrastructure and build and deployment processes, and thus help the developer to just focus on the BAP business logic. So as a BaaS, it provides managed services, managed storage, computation, security, and a different execution pattern. And that help developer to build cloud native applications as a functions, and those can be exposed directly in the API gateway for the easy consumption. So in this release, deprecated runtime version alert, Infor has a health service which is primarily to alert or send notifications depending on the business scenarios. And as part of this release, BaaS has adopted health service to surface the runtime deprecation messages to the users. So the problem here is when we develop the BaaS service as part of a deployment, it actually included the runtime versions as part of as the BaaS service framework provides. And over a period of time, these runtime versions will be deprecated. And using the deprecated versions could cause security vulnerabilities. So it is essential to keep them updated to the latest version. So the solution offers the administrator to get notification of those deprecated versions and the service list so that the administrator can redeploy them with the latest version of the framework runtime version. So now let me go to the last topic. This is the build and deployment audit track. As I mentioned for API Gateway, similarly, BaaS also adopted the audit and monitoring to publish the build and deployment activities and other activities which are affecting or writing the BaaS artifacts. Let me demonstrate the custom specific notifications with an example. So for this demo, I already configured two authorized apps. And before doing so, let us understand what is required when we enforce the authorized app scope. So to enforce authorized scopes, the first thing is you need to enable the scopes for authorized apps. This enablement provide the option at an authorized app level whether to enforce the scopes for that particular authorized app definitions or not. So this is essential. If you disable this one, then the authorized apps will not enforce any scopes. So the first step is enabling this one. The next step is for the custom scopes, you need to create a new custom scope. So I already created a new custom scope. So that you need to provide the scope name. And when you provide the scope names, there are a couple of restrictions. You should let me start with Infor underscore, just to differentiate between Infor provision scopes versus customer scope. And the character should be below 500 characters. And then once you add the scope name, the next step is you associate scope to an API suite. So the association is simply you choose which API suite you wanted to associate. You can select one API suite or multiple. And once it is done, you need to save this one. So now, so far what we did is we created a scope and then we associated that scope to a particular API suite. The next step is enforcing the scope from an authorized application. To do that, so this is the authorized app I created for enforcement. So this toggle you can see here, this toggle says that this definition, this authorized app definition enforces the scope. And from this list, I choose AccuWeather. The AccuWeather scope is associated with the AccuWeather API suite. So once I associated this one and save the changes, that means whenever I use this authorized app to make a communication, I can only access AccuWeather APIs only. Other APIs I cannot access. And similarly, I also created another API which doesn't enforce any scope. So this is simply like, this toggle is disabled. That means this authorized app can access any API that is registered in the API gateway. So let me move on to the Postman. So here I'm demonstrating the enforce scope. So I already generated the Barrett token. And if I copy this token and put it here, so that generated token, if you see here, it has these parameters. It enforces the scope as 1, and it also included the scope name as AccuWeather. So this is how the Barrett token will include the information. If the enforcement scope is 0, that means this Barrett token can access any APIs. So let me execute the AccuWeather API. If I click this one, then the API is successful. And if I try to use the same Barrett token and hit another endpoint, which is coming from another API space. So in this case, this is Infor Provision API. And if I click send, then it is the response is forbidden. So this is how you can restrict the access. But if I go back to the other non-enforced scopes authorized app, wherein I haven't mentioned any scope, and in that case, it can access both the AccuWeather API as well as any other API registered in the API gateway. So for example, it can also access the other Mingin API here. If status is 200. So that is how you can use the scopes to restrict the access. So to demo the audit and monitoring, you can access the audit and monitoring screens from Infor security applications. So you have this audit and monitoring option here. Select the audit event search. And if I select the range and choose the application type. So in this case, I'm selecting the Ion API. And when you make a search, then it will display all the events. Okay, so if you click on the one of the event, and then it will provide all the information. For example, the user who make this request, and then the actions. This is a reindexing of API metadata. The entity type is API metadata. This corresponding to the menu option in the API gateway, and then it will also show you the before image and off image. This is the same for backend as a service. So all the events, because this is a central application, you can choose the different applications and get the same information here. The other one is the health and notification service. So all the health and notification service are defined the rules in the health service. So the runtime deprecation for BaaS is also defined here. So if you see here, this is the definition or the rule for runtime deprecation. So the rule says that if the Java version 11 is used or Node.js 16 version is used, then the application will send the notification if the deprecated version is continuously used more than 7 days. And the user will get the notification alert or email. And you can also set these emails from user settings. So from user setting, you have a health notification option. So from here, you can choose the application. So in this case, it is the API gateway. And if I wanted to get those notifications as emails, simply choose this option. Then whatever the notification generated, you will also get that as part of your email. So with this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadiq. We are again a couple of minutes over the promised 2 hours, but before we end the webinar, I'd like to tell you this is the last one with the current name. Last year, we introduced our Infor OS platform as the Infor Industry Cloud Platform. So in October this year, we will be incorporating that into the webinar name. You'll be hearing the new name more and more as the year progresses. Thank you for joining us today. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night, and we'll see you next time.